All right, back at it again. All right, seeing the place to be. Ric Serritella here on this Saturday, September 27th, our 27th episode of the All Access Football Daily Show. Buckle up, hunker down. It's our college football NFL Draft Watch pregame show. We do it each and every Saturday, breaking down the marquee matchups with the keen focus on the names you need to know for the upcoming 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh this year. Destination Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're counting you down. We're chopping it up. It is your home for real football talk, and we've been with you each and every day here for the start of September as we get ready to roll into October. The fall weather is coming soon here at the Jersey Shore. We're broadcasting live around the universe. Make sure you check out allaccessfootball.com. We've got 80 prospects for you to digest here for the marquee matchups. That's just in the Oregon, Penn State, and Alabama, Georgia game alone. We've got 40 guys on the NFL draft radar. You can log on to allaccessfootball.com, follow along. We've got scouting reports, projections, verified measurements, not the school bio measurements, so you can get a real feel for the size of these guys. And we're going to get into all those games, the Oregon, Penn State game, LSU, Ole Miss. Also dive into LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, Penn State. But I want to start off with last night's action, and we're waiting to see if we have the star of the show, Russ Lande, who usually joins me here each and every Saturday, former NFL, CFL, XFL scout. I know he just did land in London, big timer across the pond just this morning, so we'll see if Russ is able to hop on. If not, we'll do the best we can, but we had our guy Big Law, part of the NFL Draft Bible Familia, on last night or yesterday's show, and he gave us a great preview of that Florida State-Virginia game last night. And wahoo nation, man, he was all over it. He called the upset special, Virginia taking Florida State into overtime. And what a great seesaw game, a back-and-forth matchup. You saw Darrell Jackson there for Florida State make a lot of key plays. He's probably a day two prospect there at the defensive tackle spot. But that was a great matchup with the Virginia center, who's really fundamentally sound, really crisp blocker there, and maybe a draftable center prospect. But two guys I want to shine the spotlight on that really caught my attention, and Big Law mentioned it on yesterday's show, this running back tandem. I mean, they got three running backs, but two seniors there that really stood out to me. This Jamari Taylor, unbelievable. And we'll get to both of them because I actually like Xavier Brown a little bit more, and we'll get to two of these young men. But let's start off with Taylor because he's got a great backstory. He transferred over from NC Central this year. Now, when he started there at NC Central, he was a walk-on running back. Began 9th on the depth chart at NC Central and worked his way up as the starter. And he had a record-setting season last year for NC Central. He ran for over 1,100 yards, 15 touchdowns, transfers over to Virginia here. And, man, this guy is a bowling ball. I mean, the pad level, he'll run you over. You hear the shoulder pads pop. He's delivering the punishment, not the defender. And he really makes you make business decisions. Now, what I like about Jamari Taylor, he can pound the rock. He can bust it up the gut, keep it between the tackles, but he's also got the speed to cut it outside. And these guys make you want to learn more. So I did some research on him this morning. The coaching staff talks about high character, hardworking player, kind of loosey-goosey personality in the locker room, goes about his business. But, man, I'll tell you, the way he can pick up yards after contact, ground out that tough yardage, the hand-eye coordination, footwork, this Jamari Taylor, man, I think he's going to get a good hard look at the next level. And I'll tell you, his counterpart, Xavier Brown, this is like a Batman and Robin backfield duo over there in Virginia. And you heard Big Law talk about they splurged $30 million in the portal, or $30 million on this roster, splurging in the transfer portal. But Xavier Brown, somebody who came over from actually he's been with the Virginia team, but he has struggled early on in his career with injuries, from my understanding. And now last year he played in 11 games, missed the final game of the season with a collarbone, and there was big expectations for Xavier Brown coming into the season. Now this guy maximizes every touch, 9 carries for 60 yards last night against Florida State. Jamari Taylor had 99 rushing yards and a score. He's got 397 yards on the season. Xavier Brown now has 206 rushing yards on the season. And you saw him also add a 15-yard catch out of the backfield for a touchdown. So Xavier Brown, little run, catch, versatile skill set. But, man, this guy's so quick and nimble-footed. His jump cut, man, he's gone. Like he brings the juice. He's got burst. He's like a microwave instant offense off of the bench. And, you know, we'll see how the medical checks out. He seems to be relatively healthy, but his breakaway burst, vision, cutback certainly caught my attention. Xavier Brown, he does more with his touches than most running backs do. And again, it's just the one cut and gone. Reminds me a little bit of Selvin Young back in the day coming out of Texas. He got linked up with Mike Shanahan in that Denver Broncos offensive scheme, an undrafted free agent, and ran for 1,000 yards. That could be what Xavier Brown brings to the next level. And I see they've been kind of keeping his workload conservative. It rarely gets more than 10 carries a game, but I expect that role to increase there for Xavier Brown. And they got the other kid, Whaley. It's a three-headed monster. And then Chandler Morris, very established veteran signal caller. You saw him make big plays, extend plays, make throws on the move. So Virginia, man, how about that? This was a double OT. I actually stayed up for all three games. They were all thrillers. Not much sleep here at the All Access Football Studios, but how about Virginia? 46-38 in double overtime. Big win for Wahoo Nation. And number 8 Florida State now going to take a topple in the overall rankings. So that was one matchup that we had our eyes on last night. And then TCU, Arizona State. This one didn't go to overtime, but what a thriller. 27-24. TCU was winning this for most of the game. And it was a tale of two quarterbacks, really, because Josh Hoover came out like a man on a mission. And I'll tell you what, he was playing very efficient coming into the game. Great touchdown to interception ratio. I think it was like 8-2, 10-2. Now, if you look in years past, like he had 11 interceptions last year, I think 9 the year before, and these turnovers is what's getting John Hoover killed. And, you know, maybe he's a little bit too confident in his arm talent, but man, he flashed a really impressive game. And you know, the interceptions got him hurt, especially there at the end of the game where they were trying to make a last push. But Hoover can do it, man. This guy's got electric arm velocity, live arm, quick release, very confident to zip the ball in tight windows. Like I said, maybe too confident, but you see the command, the way he runs the offense, complete command of the huddle, athleticism to extend plays, and he's an aggressive runner now. He'll absorb a lot of hits, which was also very concerning. He's got to be a little bit smarter as a runner. But again, excellent pre-snap read and react. He was calling audibles there at the line of scrimmage, and the way he can layer the ball, right? That's what was most noticeable, is like he's got tremendous touch, and he can hit the second level and get it over to linebacker, place it beautifully with timing touch throws. And I'll tell you what, I came away with this game more impressive with Hoover than I did Sam Levitt in terms of next level prospect. And I know Levitt is somebody who's drawn a lot of attention. I see some pretty well respected draftniks in their mock drafts, and you see Sam Levitt popping up in the first round. Now, I don't see it when I watch him. He's a gamer, not quite the same size as a Max Duggan, but a similar skill set and demeanor, and just keeps his team in the ball game, can rally the troops, and he can kill you with his legs. And that's where he really did most of his damage, especially in the second half. Now, it almost looks like sometimes he's uncomfortable in the pocket where he needs to be on the run. He wants to be on the move. He'll roll out even if there's not pressure. And a couple of his passes in the short game, like he had a clean pocket, short pass, and they just sail behind him or off the mark. And so I think Sam Levitt needs to clean some of that up in terms of his NFL future. But, you know, he can avoid that pass rush. And, you know, I just wonder, can he be a more competent pocket passer? Because I think that's something he's going to need to learn to do as he transitions to the NFL level. And Sam Levitt, they're pulling it out. And how about Jordan Tyson? I mean, our number one wide receiver on the big board. He made big play after big play. His way to contort the body, Levitt makes a lot of bad throws. I hate to tell you this, and Jordan Tyson makes him look good because his ability to adapt to bad throws, contort his body, the body balance. He made a great diving catch. Very, very good, sharp route runner. Very impressive with the route running technique. Again, vertical extension and the deep speed, right? If you leave Jordan Tyson one-on-one, he is going to make you pay. And, if he was healthy during that Texas game last year where Cam Scatterbo just ran through the Longhorns defense, who knows what could have happened. But Jordan Tyson, to me, he looks like a top 10 talent. We'll see how high he can rise. But in terms of skill position players, I would think Jordan Tyson is the number one guy there. All right. That was an exciting game that went down to the wire. And then I flipped over to the Houston and Oregon State game. And what a surprise that was, because Oregon State was up by a couple touchdowns. They dominated the whole game. And then here came Houston roaring back to make this one again went into overtime. We were up late in the morning watching this one. 27-24. Houston kicks a field goal in overtime to remain undefeated. They're going to go to 4-0. Oregon State now 5-0. But this was a cliffhanger. And Connor Wegman, the former Texas A&M five-star recruit, finished up with 270 yards, a pair of touchdowns, rallying the Cougars back from behind. Big comeback. And you kind of saw it coming, and I picked it up somewhere, I think, in the end of the second quarter. They were down multiple scores, but the second half, here comes Houston. You were just waiting for them to get back in the game, And then Tanner Koziel, who we highlighted on yesterday's show, he made some big plays, including a 50-yard touchdown at the end there to tie it up and send this one into OT. So Wegman to Koziel was good for six connections, 86 yards, and a touchdown. I like this Tanner Koziel. He's about 6'6", very lengthy, and I like his fiery demeanor. You saw the passion going over after he tied up the game. He's in the defensive huddle, rallying the defensive guys. So Tanner Koziel, probably a mid to late round selection when it comes to the tight end prospects. And then one other guy I want to touch on, because I also snuck in some Thursday night action with ECU and Army. ECU took care of business there, but we highlighted Anthony Smith, and this kid is one of the best mid-major prospects. He's carving it up there at East Carolina. Explosive speed, big play ability, and you saw it on the fourth play of the game, big 40-yard catch, and then a couple possessions later, he had a 41-yard touchdown. He finished with 3 catches for 87 yards. But this is old hat for Anthony Smith. Last year, he spent 4 seasons at North Carolina State and then transferred over to ECU last year. He had explosive plays all over the place: 39 yards, 31, 53 yards, 42 yards, 64, 47, 50. He averaged 20 yards per catch last year. So this guy, he brings solid size. He's not the most physical guy, but that's okay because he's got pretty solid route running technique and elite speed. I mean, we're talking about high school track meet, 300-meter dash record, high jump school record. This is a name you need to know for day 3 of the NFL draft when it comes to mid-major prospects and the 2026 draft eligible players. This is his 6th year, so I do believe he exhausted all of his eligibility. And I have it right here: 55-meter and 300-meter Maryland state record, high school state record in the high jump. And he's also got a younger brother by the name of Evan Powell on those ECU Pirates. So that's just the action that occurred. I mean, Friday, we got a triple header of nonstop action. We had guy on the radar Thursday night. When we come back from our commercial break, we're going to start diving in to some of these marquee matchups today. So don't go anywhere. Keep it locked. It's Ric Serritella for the All Access Football Daily Show. We're going to dive right into it. Buckle up, everybody. Hey, RIC in a place to be. Ric Serritella checking in from the legendary Jersey Shore for the world famous All Access Football, and you're tuned in to the All Access Football Daily Show, our newest venture here at the world famous All Access Football, read by all 32 NFL teams and 50,000 subscribers from around the world. And I've been blessed and fortunate enough to work in this great game of football for the past 2 decades. It's our 24th season of providing you independent analysis when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin, whether it's the NFL, college football, NFL draft, CFL, UFL. We'll be with you each step of the way, especially for draft season when we really get into high mode. Of course, it's all brought to you by the 2026 NFL Draft Bible, published in April, featuring over 500 in-depth scouting reports with our boots-on-the-ground analysis. We'll be on location at the All-Star Games, the NFL Scouting Combine, the Pro Day circuit, counting you down to that 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh. And be sure you check us out over at allaccessfootball.com. We've got a great promo discount for you listeners at home. If you enter our promo code RICVIP, you'll get a 30% discount off of all of our premium content. You'll unlock the magic. Get our NFL Draft Insider Reports, Scouting Notebook, of course, the World Football All Access Football Report published on Wednesday. It's your new home for real football talk. So follow along, give us a shout. We hope you're enjoying the show. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or X, please give it a like, a share, a subscribe, and we'll be with you each and every day here, 7 days a week, live, 10 a.m. Eastern, no days off, rain, sleet, hail, snow. The show must go on. For Ric Serritella and the All Access Football Daily Show, keep it locked, everybody. All right, back at it again. RIC in the place to be. Ric Serritella telling it like it is when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin here on the All Access Football Daily Show. We're live 7 days a week, 10 a.m. Eastern, no days off. It's your home for real football talk. And we're down Russ Lande, a residential scout who usually joins us every Saturday, but did have a early morning flight to London. He said he was going to try to make the show. Haven't heard from him. So we're down a man, flying solo today. And I'll also be solo on the NFL Pick'em show, where we go around the league with all the NFL games, latest information, tidbits, nuggets, latest injury news, breaking news, and predictions. We're now 29-20 against the spread. So tune in tomorrow for our NFL pregame show, and we'll get you all squared away for everything you need to know on Sunday. But we're on Saturday, and we just highlighted all the prospects that stood out to us under the Friday night lights. Funny things can happen under those Friday night lights, and we saw it with 3 games that went down to the wire, 2 of them that went into overtime, and of course a prospect from the Thursday night game in Anthony Smith. So if you're just tuning in, you can go back, watch the show, and listen to all that. Today we've got a slew of ranked opponents. We're going to start off with 4-0 LSU, number 4 in the nation, against number 13 Ole Miss, 3-0. This one's going to be 3:30 at ABC. And, you know, ESPN actually posted a Trinidad Chambliss passing map. That's pretty interesting because Chambliss will start for Austin Simmons. We talked about it earlier on in the week. If Chambliss keeps playing the way he does and pulls off the upset here against LSU, there's a good chance Austin Simmons may get Wally pipped and lose his starting job. But what's interesting is Chambliss, most of his passes, as I look at the spread chart, are all dinks and dunks, short to intermediate passes, a lot of bubble screens, getting the ball in the hands of his receivers and letting them do yards after the catch work. I would say like 70 to 80% of his passes, at least 80% of his passes, are 10 yards or less. So there's going to be a lot of dinking and dunking for the Ole Miss side. And then LSU, we've talked about it. Garrett Nussmeier, I don't think it's gotten enough attention because, I mean, LSU, when you look at their offense, they are struggling. They have the worst scoring offense in the SEC. Nussmeier has been unable to get those deep downfield passes. And I think it's attributed to this torso injury that he has. And we haven't made a big deal about it, but it's definitely limiting him. If you listen to Brian Kelly's press conferences, it's been an issue, maybe why they've been a little bit hesitant to go deep downfield. He also has a patellar knee injury that flared up in August, and he's going to shut it down next week during their bye week. And so you just wonder, like, Joe Burrow's bigger than Garrett Nussmeier, and look at how much time he's missed 3 of the last 6 seasons. When will that become an issue for NFL talent evaluators? When will his performance become an issue for NFL talent evaluators? Now, Nussmeier is still sitting atop our big board as the number 1 rated quarterback. I do think he is the most pro-ready NFL signal caller in the college football universe, but he's only thrown 11 passes more than 20 yards. 2 of them have been intercepted. So you talk about the long field ball, it's not there. On the short to intermediate passes, he's completing 73%, but he just can't get the ball deep downfield. Maybe that changes today. He's got some guys who can take a top off of the defense, and Aaron Anderson and Barrion Brown. Brown, of course, coming over Kentucky, transfer there. And, you know, the defense is going to come to play because they got several guys on our radar, including Whit Weeks, you know, who's dating the daughter of Lane Kiffin. He's a starting middle Mike linebacker there for LSU, 6'2", 228 pounds, flies all over the field, sideline to sideline prowess. He's probably a day 2 consideration, and who knows, he may even work his way up into the first round mix. One guy we had a first round grade coming into the season, and then everybody caught on to it, was Mansour Delani, who really impressed me at Virginia Tech. He's come over now to LSU and has stated a case maybe as the best cornerback prospect in the entire draft, coming in at 6 foot, 187 pounds. He's going to run very well, test very well, maybe the best lockdown cornerback in all of college football. And then we've talked about Harold Perkins, who can play off ball. He can get after the quarterback as a pass rusher. Now, you know, he's an interesting prospect because he's certainly talented, but you wonder at 6 foot and 5/8 inches, 225 pounds, what is the role for Harold Perkins at the next level? Now, he runs faster than most running backs, so you'll get a good look at him against this Ole Miss offense today. And for Ole Miss, you know, we mentioned Chambliss stepping in for Austin Simmons. Look for him to dink and dunk. Deshaun Stribling is yet to really get heavily involved in the offense, but highly rated receiver, 6'2", 200 pounds. Of course, Harrison Wallace III has been the go-to guy there. He's an explosive playmaker at 6'1", 200 pounds. But on the defensive side of the ball, they need to step their game up. We talked about it. Lane's daddy, Monty, wouldn't be too proud of the way the defense has been playing, but Xavier Harris, it's to no fault of him. At 6'6", 320 pounds, he's a monster in the middle of the defense, can apply some pressure from the interior of that defensive line, get after the quarterback, stop the run. Xavier Harris right now, probably a top 3 defensive tackle prospect, which puts him probably in that day 2 range. Okay. And then Princewell Umanelin, the younger brother of Prince Umanelin, 6'3" and 6'8", 245 pounds on the edge. Keep a lookout for him on the Ole Miss side of the ball. So let's see, anybody else that we're missing here? Yeah, we have all of the prospects listed. Ole Miss is actually favored in this game by 1.5, which is surprising to me. And I think LSU is going to go in there on the road and remain unbeaten and go steal this one. But you can go over to the website over on our 2026 rankings tab. You can sort it by school and get all of the prospects for LSU and Ole Miss. Okay. All right. Let's talk about Oregon at Penn State. This one's another ranked opponent. Penn State really hasn't been challenged too much here. 3-0, hosting 4-0 Oregon. Oregon number 6 in the country, Penn State number 3 in the country. This one clearly has college football playoff ramifications. It's going to be on NBC at 7:30 tonight, primetime affair. And so when we talk about this one, we've got Drew Allard versus Dante Moore. And we just mentioned Nussmeier, and could he crumble or fumble or tumble from that number 1 QB spot on our big board? If he does, look out for Drew Allard. A lot of love for Drew Allard in the scouting community. You heard Russ on last week's show say he could very well be the number 1 quarterback and potentially the number 1 overall pick. And this is a big statement game for Allard, right? Because if he can show he's testing the defenses downfield more, but against lesser opponents, if he can do it against this Oregon team who's just locked and loaded with talent all over the field, Allard's going to state a strong case in terms of his draft stock. Now, Dante Moore, look out for him, because if he wins this game, I think he catapults not in the Heisman Trophy race, but I like what I'm saying from him early on. And you talk about Oregon being a springboard destination for quarterbacks. We've seen it with Bo Nix. We've seen it with Dillon Gabriel. Well, in comes Dante Moore, who actually sat behind Gabriel and waited patiently for his opportunity. And I'll tell you what, he's now emerging as a potential first-round quarterback. Obviously, a lot to get to in terms of the season as it wears on, but don't sleep on Dante Moore. And I think you can get tremendous odds. He's like 13-1 to win the Heisman. Get on that now before Oregon possibly defeats Penn State here. Now, he'll be protected by Isaiah World, who we've talked about. 32 penalties over the last 3 seasons. Haven't looked into how many flags he's been called for this year, but we want to see him be more disciplined moving forward. On defense, Tatum Tuiwato, I probably butchered his name, Tuiwato, number 44, 6'1" and 6/8 inches, 255 pounds, playing very, very good on the edge, quick high motor, quick off the line, has some great bend to him. And, you know, when you pair him now with Matayo Uiagalelei, they're going to be sending a lot of pressure at Drew Allard. And both of these guys now have kind of elevated themselves into top 50 status, as has Dylan Thieneman, who came over from Purdue, real good-looking safety at 6 foot, 207 pounds, fluid change of direction, can close on the ball carrier, has scheme flexibility, able to play in zone or man coverage, can step up against the run, play inside the box, versatile safety, can play a lot of different spots, and he's constantly showing up around film when you pop it on. Over 100 tackles last year, nonstop motor, and he too is somebody who could maybe push himself in that first round category. I look at the Oregon prospects. They got a lot of guys on the fringe of the first round, like Kenyon Sadiq, probably the most impressive tight end in college football this year. This guy's got wheels, and at 6'3", 245 pounds, out of Idaho, you just wonder the size, right? And the kid playing for Cleveland, Harold Fannin, was even smaller, but you see him carving out a role in Cleveland. I think Kenyon Sadiq could be a really pass catch weapon, and it's not a real strong tight end class. So Sadiq, I mean, he's staying a case right now to be the first tight end off the board, should he declare, because he is a junior. We talked about Isaiah World. Well, Emmanuel Pregnon, who transferred over from USC, to me is one of the best guard prospects in all of college football. He comes in at 6'4" and 3/8 inches, 320 pounds, great length, great size, great technique, a lot of experience there for Emmanuel Pregnon. I also think he is a day 2 guy. Mekhi Hughes, the running back, hasn't had a great season. A lot of expectations coming into the season. He's simmered down now, maybe more falling back in that day 3 category. And then Bear Alexander on the defensive side of the ball. He came over from Cal. I think he's had some concussion issues in the past, but he's playing real good football in the middle of that Oregon defensive line. We talked about the pass rushers. Well, Bear Alexander in the middle is absorbing those double teams. The 315-pounder. Bryce Bodeker, the linebacker, flying all over the field. He leads the team in tackles, I believe. So we've got 40 guys just in this Penn State and Oregon matchup alone. You can go over to allaccessfootball.com and check out the Draft Insider. We've got scouting reports, projections, verified measurements. And A.J. Harris, how about him? Out of Penn State, 6'1", 184 pounds. And I think he's maybe highlighted himself and showcased himself to be considered a potential first-round pick. Penn State puts out a lot of well-coached corners in recent years, and this defense is going to be challenged now too. We talked about the inferior competition Penn State has been playing. Well, it's time to step up. And Dennis Sutton, tremendous size, 6'5", 5/8 inches, 265 pounds. I think he had 9.5 sacks last year. He's got a couple sacks this year. And then Zakee Wheatley, the safety, at 6'2" and 6/8 inches, 200 pounds. Like to see him be more involved in terms of making plays on the defensive side of the ball. Up front, they got Zane Durant, a defensive tackle who does lack length at 6'1", 290 pounds, a little bit smaller than your prototypical size, only 32-inch arms. So a lot of players on this wide receiver. Trevor Pena, he caught my attention at Syracuse. I think he's one of the best return men in the nation out of Ocean Township, New Jersey. 6 foot, 185 pounds. Penn State stole him away from Syracuse with the NIL, and Fran Brown saying we just didn't want to pay $2 million for a fringe NFL prospect. That's what he is, but he does have an outside shot of hearing his name called because of that return ability there for the Penn State Nittany Lions. All right, so there's just a preview of the Oregon-Penn State game. Okay, we're flying through the show. When we come back, we're going to get into the SEC showdown between Georgia and Alabama. And once again, we've got 40 prospects for this game up on the website. You can go follow Draft Insider over at allaccessfootball.com. Follow along as we talk about it. You got a question, comment, concern, please let us know inside the chat room. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back right after this. Hey, RIC in a place to be. Ric Serritella checking in from the legendary Jersey Shore for the world-famous All Access Football, and you're tuned in to the All Access Football Daily Show, our newest venture here at the world-famous All Access Football, read by all 32 NFL teams and 50,000 subscribers from around the world. And I've been blessed and fortunate enough to work in this great game of football for the past 2 decades. It's our 24th season of providing you independent analysis when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin, whether it's the NFL, college football, NFL draft, CFL, UFL. We'll be with you each step of the way, especially for draft season when we really get into high mode. Of course, it's all brought to you by the 2026 NFL Draft Bible, published in April, featuring over 500 in-depth scouting reports with our boots-on-the-ground analysis. We'll be on location at the All-Star Games, the NFL Scouting Combine, the Pro Day circuit, counting you down to that 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh. And be sure you check us out over at allaccessfootball.com. We've got a great promo discount for you listeners at home. If you enter our promo code RICVIP, you'll get a 30% discount off of all of our premium content. You'll unlock the magic. Get our NFL Draft Insider reports, Scouting Notebook, of course, the World Football All Access Football Report published on Wednesday. It's your new home for real football talk. So follow along, give us a shout. We hope you're enjoying the show. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or X, please give it a like, a share, a subscribe, and we'll be with you each and every day here, 7 days a week, live, 10 a.m. Eastern, no days off, rain, sleet, hail, snow. The show must go on. For Ric Serritella and the All Access Football Daily Show, keep it locked, everybody. All right, we're back at it again. All right, seeing a place to be. Ric Serritella moving and grooving on this hour of power on the All Access Football Daily Show. We're live 7 days a week, 10 a.m. Eastern. It is your home for real football talk. Quick programming alert. Tomorrow we'll go around the NFL with our NFL Pick'em show. 29-20 against the spread on the season. We'll try to ante it up tomorrow as we go around the league. Latest injury updates, breaking news, tidbits of information, loaded, jam-packed show for you tomorrow. So make sure you tune in for that. We just recapped the Friday Night Lights affair in the A block. We took a look at Oregon and Penn State in the B block, as well as LSU and Ole Miss. If you're just tuning in, you can catch the archive on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Please smash that like button, share it, subscribe it, get all of our new show alerts. We got a lot of great programming here at the All Access Football Show, including Scouting the League with Roderick David and Neil Stratton, former NFL scout. And Neil Stratton has tapped into the scouting community. If you want to learn how the sausage is made, it's a great show. They shine the spotlight on college campus visits, what it all means, taking a look at Chapel Hill and some of the ways that scouts conduct their business throughout the scouting season. And really just fascinating insight there throughout the week over at All Access Football. Of course, QB Huddle will be every Tuesday, everything quarterbacks. They go around the NFL with all of your quarterback news. And New and Blue airs on Monday night. It's a New York Giants podcast. We're based here in New Jersey at the All Access Football Studio. So my co-host Dan Orlando joins me live right here every Monday night at 7 p.m. So buckle up, hunker down. We got a little bit of time left in the show to talk about number 17 Alabama, 2-1, heading into Athens, Georgia, to take on the undefeated Bulldogs, 3-0. This one's going to be at 7:30 on ABC. And I'll tell you what, this Ty Simpson has been playing as well as any quarterback in the nation. We mentioned it on the Draft Insider Report over on allaccessfootball.com. And he's a 5-star recruit, a little bit of a late bloomer. But in the last couple of weeks, I mean, you can't find a more efficient quarterback than Ty Simpson for Alabama. And this is a team that's getting healthy coming into this game. Very highly rated running back, Jam Miller, compact runner, can really run between the tackles, got some juice to him. He's going to return, make his season debut. And they also get back run-stuffing defensive tackle Tim Keenan. And Keenan is, man, he's a passionate guy. I saw him yelling at the Coach DeBoer there on the sideline a couple weeks ago. He's really, really one of the heart and soul of this Alabama defensive unit. Now, we had Chad Ryder on Thursday's show, one of the best NFL draft analysts in the world, and he's like, hey, I don't know about you, but if you don't have Jeremy Bernard mocked in your first round, then what are we really doing here? This guy's electrifying. He can get it done through the air. He can take a bubble screen or end around and just take it the distance in the blink of the eye. 6 foot, 6'8", 209 pounds, top-notch speed, and he's just been making big plays, very dependable hands, seems to find the open seam against the zone. Not sure you want to play zone against him. He is a good route runner, too, if you do want to play man, and he's physical, right? You can't, you got to come and bring your A game with him. And now he's also returning kicks, so the special teams value, added bonus there for the next level out of the Las Vegas native, Jeremy Bernard, who hails from the desert in the valley out there in our old stomping grounds. How about LT Overton? Really good looking, versatile defensive lineman, can play inside, outside. A little bit of a tweener at 6'2" 3/8", 274 pounds. Will he play inside or outside at the next level? He can certainly play the edge, but he's also taken a lot of double teams this year. Got his first sack of the season, I think, last week. And he's got knockback power, able to shed blocks. He's getting better at rushing the passer. I noticed his hand usage has improved the last time I saw him. And, he also, too, has been banged up a little bit this season. Now, Caden Proctor, he's a heavy-set offensive lineman. You worry about his conditioning and how that's going to impact his draft stock. He has ballooned at times. We have him at 359 pounds, 6'7". He's just a monster in the trenches. Another one of these 5-star recruits that Alabama has pulled. And he's got good athleticism and quick feet for a gargantuan offensive lineman. Again, his size, he's certainly got experience and pretty good technique, but you worry about the conditioning and will that impact his draft stock moving forward. Damani Jackson, he's a physical corner, sticky coverage, 6 foot 3/8 inches, 191 pounds. I think he's a potential first round pick. A couple guys who could creep up into the first round. Deontay Lawson, I have him more in the day two range, 6'2", 3/8 inches, a little light at 218 pounds. He's a mobile. He's a redshirt senior out of Mobile, Alabama. So I fully expect Deontay Lawson to be one of the shining stars down there when we get to the Senior Bowl. And Keon Saab, this is a guy who caught my attention early on in his career. He's now a redshirt junior out of Glassboro, New Jersey. We're keeping tabs on Keon Saab, really a playmaking safety at 6'1", 206 pounds. We mentioned Tim Keenan III, the defensive tackle there, who had high draft grades coming into the season. Of course, he comes back from injury, 6'2", 3/8 inches, 318 pounds, short arms, 30-inch arms. Very, very short arms there for Tim Keenan. So we'll see how much that impacts him. Ty Simpson, we mentioned 6'2", 2/8 inches, 208 pounds. And then Jam Miller, very compact, great build at 5'9" and 5/8 inches, 214 pounds. Top-notch speed there. Look out for Isaiah Horton. He's really made some plays. Big-bodied receiver at 6'4", 209 pounds. Another guy on the NFL radar there for Alabama. And then on the Georgia side of the ball, we had our good friend Brooks Austin on a couple weeks ago. Gave us a great breakdown of all these Georgia Bulldogs prospects. We got some scouting reports for Zachariah Branch, the wide receiver who came over with his brother, Zion Branch, the safety. Zion coming off the bench while Zachariah has been a dangerous slot weapon. He's got 4.3 speed, comes in at 5'9" and 5/8 inches. Another guy out of Las Vegas there for you to keep an eye on. And then on the defense, that's where Georgia makes their money. So we talked about Zion Branch. How about CJ Allen, the linebacker there, leads the team in tackles, I believe, 6'1" and 3/8 inches, 235 pounds. Borderline first round pick, certainly in that day two category. Christian Miller, probably a top 5 prospect at his position at the defensive tackle spot, 6'3" and 6/8 inches, 305 pounds. Keep a lookout for him to wreak some havoc in the middle of the defense. And then Dalen Everett, another good-looking corner at 6 foot, 193 pounds. He's been on the radar for several years. They've got a pretty good secondary there, especially at the safety. They use a lot of bodies, mixing it up, mixing and matching. Ernest Green III, the offensive tackle, he's been dealing with some back injury issues. And I really liked this film last year. Excellent film, great technique, 6'3" and 4/8 inches, lacks height, but he does have 34-inch arms. And, I think backs are tricky. And I don't know what's going to show up in the medical report, but the injuries have certainly hindered his play. So Ernest Green III, a redshirt junior, somebody who I thought could be a candidate to declare early, I think now it would be actually smarter for him to maybe go back to school for another year and just work on his overall game. And, we've talked about Gunnar Stockton, who's not exactly an NFL pro prospect, but he just finds a way to get it done. Obviously, he can beat you through the air, beat you on the ground. So we'll see what Gunnar Stockton does against Ty Simpson in this SEC showdown, again, at 7:30 p.m. over on ABC. So those are the marquee matchups of the week that we're going to highlight with the key prospects, a couple loose ends to show up here. I saw Adam Peters, the Washington Commanders general manager, is going to now be part of the UCLA head coach selection committee as they search for a new head coach. And I saw the quarterback there, Nico, had an interview, I think, a couple days ago, just talking about the adversity that he's dealing with there in UCLA. There's been a lot of rumors that he could look to hit the transfer portal. And remember now, when you fire your head coach, the transfer portal opens for 30 days. So all of these players now have the opportunity to transfer. Will Nico look to do that this season? Will he wait until after the season? We shall see. There's even been a rumor that he could look to return back to Tennessee, but I don't think the Volunteers even want him anymore. And the way he departed, the way that Joey Aguilar is playing at Tennessee, I mean, who wants Nico back? So he's really put himself in a situation. Everybody thinks the grass is always greener on the other side, looking for those NIL payouts, but he was in a good spot at UCLA. If he had just stayed there in the long run and built off of last season, maybe his draft stock doesn't tumble so much, and maybe you have a better long-term investment in your playing career. Now, NFL scouts are going to be very leery uh, to know about his character, his makeup, his DNA, and how much he really truly loves the game. So something to monitor there. Of course, we had Big Law on yesterday's show who previewed the Virginia and Florida State matchup. Double overtime thriller last night, if you saw that one. But we also talked about Virginia Tech and the issues they're having in terms of raising money. I had no idea that Virginia had $30 million of NIL money. They've really stepped their game up. Virginia Tech probably at like a third of that at 10 million. So there's going to be a need there, not only for a competent head coach, but I think they're going to need somebody in the front office. And, that's part of what UCLA needs to do is implement a front office structure, something that Oklahoma State failed to do and got Mike Gundy fired after 21 years because they don't have the front office operation like so many power conference programs do. You've got to have a general manager. You've got to have a director of personnel. You've got to have at least 2 scouts dedicated to this transfer portal at all times because there's thousands of players in there and coaches that refuse to adapt and adjust, like a Mike Gundy. I'm looking at you, Dabo Swinney, and Clemson. Like, you got to get with the times. You got to learn how to tap into the donors and the boosters and the alumni. And, it's a tough deal. And so we talked about, is Mike Vick a legitimate candidate there at Virginia Tech? Probably not, because of the NIL, because of the transfer portal, because he doesn't have that experience. In Norfolk State, where he's the head coach now, just 1-3. But we'll see who they hire. Could Vic be a candidate the next go around? Certainly so. But who is going to be the next head coach of Virginia Tech? They clearly have their eyes on Shane Beamer. But is Beamer Ball going to be willing to take a hometown discount and go back to where his dad coached for so long and leave that South Carolina program, which he has really have trending in the right direction, a lot of momentum that he's building down there in South Carolina. So we'll see what transpires. GJ Kinney has been a candidate for the Oklahoma State job, and he's one of these fast rising young head coaches. I would love to see him get that Oklahoma State job. So we've got head coach vacancies around the college football landscape. Who's going to be the next man up there? We shall see. We'll continue to monitor that. Of course, we were down Russ Lande this week, who just landed in London not too long ago, but he usually joins me each and every Saturday. Former NFL, XFL, CFL scout. He'll be back next week. We've got some good games on the docket for next week. I did have a list here peeking ahead to next week's action. Miami, Florida State, the in-state battle down there in Florida between the Hurricanes and the Seminoles should be a good one. The Seminoles are going to be pissed off coming off that double overtime loss to Virginia. And we've talked about who, this quarterback class is wide open. Who could be the first quarterback off the board? We talked about Garrett Nussmeier today. We talked about Drew Allar. Could Dante Moore be a dark horse candidate? But how about Carson Beck? Just steady as steady does it, right? He's got a lot of love in the scouting community. I never wavered off of him from being a first-round pick. Last year in Georgia, the Bulldogs led the country with 36 dropped pass amongst their wide receivers. You don't see that this year in Miami, and Carson Beck is playing efficient. He's got the Hurricanes in national championship contention, and when it's all said and done, don't be surprised if Carson Beck is the last man standing, because Nussmeier has been notched down a few pegs. LaNorris Sellers, while the flash and the glitz and the glamour and all the tools are there, I think there's a long ways to go yet in the development of LaNorris Sellers. Same with Talon Green out of Arkansas, who our guy Emory Hunt was pumping up. He was actually Emory's #1 rated quarterback a couple weeks ago, but Talon Green, again, just needs to develop more as a passer, being able to read through his progressions. And Fernando Mendoza, right? That's the wild card of the bunch. Indiana, they've got another tough matchup after blowing Illinois out of the water a week ago. But Mendoza, I mean, what's not to like? He's got size. He's got a cannon arm. He's efficient. Can make all the throws. Like this Fernando Mendoza, every year we see a quarterback come out of nowhere, and there was some buzz. He transferred over from Cal. There was a lot of preseason hype surrounding Mendoza, but he's worked this program, this offense beautifully. And they had a good-looking quarterback there last year who ran into some injury issues, but Mendoza has just picked up and taken it another notch. All right, so that about does it for your hour of power. We'll be back tomorrow on Sunday for the NFL Pick'em Around the League show. Of course, Monday, we recap the entire football weekend, and we'll get in some CFL talk on Monday's show. And we'll also get in some college football recaps from these marquee matchups. Again, we broke down LSU at Ole Miss, Oregon at Penn State, Alabama at Georgia. We'll talk about it. We'll be about it on Monday's show. Of course, we'll have all the latest from the NFL news and notes. I'm sure there's going to be more injuries. The infirmary report is growing by the day in the National Football League. And the quarterbacks, too, are starting to fall like dominoes. Hopefully we get through it clean, healthy weekend on the NFL side. And then Wednesday is must-see appointment viewing here on the All Access Football Show. Our guy Howard Balzer, 50 years of covering the NFL, joins us each and every Wednesday. And we're working on some guests throughout the week for next week on Thursday and Friday. So buckle up, hunker down. We appreciate you tuning in. While you're here, smash the like button, share it, subscribe it, get all of our show alerts. We've got about an hour until kickoff is underway. Some people are calling this the greatest college football slate in the history of the NCAA. I mean, there's games littered all over the map, and especially this doubleheader primetime affair, Oregon, Penn State, Alabama, Georgia. You better have a good setup with your viewing monitors, and we appreciate you tuning in and viewing this show wherever you may be watching, Facebook, Twitter, or X. We're here each and every day, 7 days a week, 10 a.m. Eastern. It's your home for real football talk. Don't forget our promo code over on the website, RICVIP, gets you a 30% discount, and that includes the 2026 NFL Draft Bible with over 500 in-depth scouting reports. Nobody covers the NFL Draft like All Access Football and the NFL Draft Bible scouting department. Quick shout out to all of our scouts in-house, Lauren Davidoff, Dom Ambrios, Jarrett Regal, Ryan Paglia. They are crushing it, and they are all future NFL scouts. So we're so happy to have them as a part of our scouting staff. And hey, that about does it. The hour of power flies here on the All Access Football Daily Show. We'll come back tomorrow with the NFL Around the League Pick'em Show. 29-20 against the spread. We're going to try to do better tomorrow. Enjoy the football day, and we'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Thanks for watching. Hey, RIC in a place to be. Ric Serritella checking in from the legendary Jersey Shore for the world-famous All Access Football, and you're tuned in to the All Access Football Daily Show, our newest venture here at the world-famous All Access Football, read by all 32 NFL teams and 50,000 subscribers from around the world. And I've been blessed and fortunate enough to work in this great game of football for the past 2 decades. It's our 24th season of providing you independent analysis when it comes to the NFL Draft and everything pigskin, whether it's the NFL, college football, NFL Draft, CFL, UFL. We'll be with you each step of the way, especially for draft season when we really get into high mode. Of course, it's all brought to you by the 2026 NFL Draft Bible, published in April, featuring over 500 in-depth scouting reports with our boots-on-the-ground analysis. We'll be on location at the All-Star Games, the NFL Scouting Combine, the Pro Day Circuit, counting you down to that 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh. And be sure you check us out over at allaccessfootball.com. We've got a great promo discount for you listeners at home. If you enter our promo code RICVIP, you'll get a 30% discount off of all of our premium content. You'll unlock the magic. Get our NFL Draft Insider Reports, Scouting Notebook, of course, the World Football All Access Football Report published on Wednesday. It's your new home for real football talk. So follow along, give us a shout. We hope you're enjoying the show. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or X, please give it a like, a share, a subscribe, and we'll be with you each and every day here, 7 days a week, live, 10 a.m. Eastern, No days off. Rain, sleet, hail, snow. The show must go on. For Ric Serritella and the All Access Football Daily Show, keep it locked, everybody.